Alright, so I was asked how to smoke a brisket in a Weber kettle. So, first thing you gotta do is get you some charcoal briquettes. I like either Kingsford's or these B&Bs. The B&B is a lot denser, it's a lot better quality charcoal. What you need to do is set up what is called snake. So, you set up 3 rows of briquettes. 3 rows. You just set them up in a row. What you're gonna do is add your wood for your smoking on the edges. I like a lot of smoke. You don't have to use as much as I do. But then how the method works is that you adjust your dampers at the bottom to set your how high you want your heat by starting one side of the bricks. And then you can use your top damper also to adjust. Okay, and you want to stay between 225 and 250. 275 is kind of pushing it. You don't want unless you have a real high quality meat, you don't want it to dry out. So this is how you get it started. So you have to have good charcoal. Now, rule of thumb is that on Kingsford, because it's less dense, to get a 12-hour cook, I'd probably be all the way maybe out here. But because B&B is a lot thicker, it's a lot denser, I could just do a crescent or half of the grill and it'll be fine. So I'll set this tonight around 8 o'clock and it should be done around 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I'll wrap for a little bit and then I'll go ahead and put the meat in a cooler so that it can start resting. Once all of that is done, then the brisket will be done. But the trick to it is called the snake method. I know I had a lot of guys commenting that lump charcoal's better. You can't do that with lump. There's no way. So that's the reason why you need to go with briquettes. Have a good one. Hey guys, this is the brisket that I got over at HEB. And this brisket is pretty good because you don't really have to trim it. If it had a huge fat cap right here, then you would trim it down. Right here, there's actually a spot where it looks like maybe one of the butchers was trimming it. I'm not sure what's going on. But even on the opposite end, the brisket looks good. It doesn't have this big meaty part. You can take this big fat cap part off if you like. I'll leave it on because it's not that big. It's actually pretty good. And so what you want to do is you want to put a rub all the way across. All the way across on the top. This is going to sit down. And what you want to do is for your brisket to be flat as possible, because you don't want to have any dips where any of the liquid will sit. So you don't want to have any dips where the liquid will sit. On the opposite side, you want to just make sure, like I said, when you pick out your brisket, most of the time briskets will have a huge fat cap and you'll have to trim it down. Some people like to go really into the edges and take all the edges off. But it looks like maybe whoever prepared this brisket had already taken their time with it and taken care of that. Alright, so I'm going to use 2 different types of rubs. You can do any kind of combination. Some people just like to use pepper and salt. But I'm going to use some chupacabra and I'm going to use my favorite, which is the Salt Lick Original Rub. And I'm going to pour this very evenly across the brisket. Point at the brisket, Caitlin. Alright, we're going to put this evenly across the brisket. We want to make sure that we season all of it, because this is a huge chunk of meat, so everywhere you want to make sure that you have a little bit of brisket rub on there. Every corner, because it has to like saturate into the meat. You could do a dry brine, which is, you could put some salt on it overnight, or you can do your rub overnight. But I'm going to do this I really ran out of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it like now. Push pause for me, kid. Pause. Hit towards me.
There, hit record.
Alright, so we're going to use one of these to start the charcoal. Okay? And come here, Caitlin. Come show everybody. Alright, so the charcoal was lit and put into the barbecue pit. Okay? And now, there's one step that we need to take. We need to put in a drip pan. So I have a little pan. It's got some water in it. It's just to catch the grease coming off of the brisket. Put it right there. It really doesn't affect anything. It'll help with some moisture control, and it'll keep the brisket from dripping all of its tailings down into the pan and causing a grease fire. All right, take our grill, grate, set it down. All right, now I checked this earlier. The grill itself was around 300 degrees, but we're gonna keep adjusting until we get it down to 250 degrees. Push pause. All right, so here we go. We got our 10-pound brisket onto our Weber kettle. Caitlin, if you want to show everybody where the Weber kettle is. And as you can see, it's getting plenty of air. It's nice and hot. All right, we're gonna take our brisket. And we're gonna put it where there's indirect heat. So there's no heat that's gonna touch the brisket. Come here, get closer, turn around. Right here, okay. So as you can see, you have your fire there, you have the drip pan, and then you have a space that has indirect heat on it. All right, this is gonna snake all the way around overnight, and then in the morning we'll have some great brisket around 3 or 4 in the morning. I might get up and go ahead and do a foil wrap. I've used paper, but I really like the way that the foil works.
Pause.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m. The temps held all night. I didn't have to do any adjusting. I didn't have to do anything. Now, what I did have to do is around 4 in the morning, I had to come out and go ahead and wrap the brisket. And the reason you do that is the brisket was a little lean, so I didn't want it to dry out. But as you can see, the snake is still going. I still have plenty of time for it to continue to cook. But I'm pretty sure this is ready to rest. So the next step that you need is to be able to check your temperatures and your brisket. And when your brisket reaches 195 degrees, it is ready to come off. All right. There you go. 194. We're ready to rest this brisket for the next 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
All right. It's time to go ahead and cut this brisket open. It's been resting since 7 o'clock this morning. As you can see, it's plenty juicy. I'm dropping all the juices coming right off. So, like I said last night, had it all done last night. And
Blurry.
touch the screen. Touch the screen like you're touching the screen.
No.
Well, touch the screen where the thing is. Like poke at it. Just tap.
Focused now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Caitlin, our camera girl. She's here recording me because I don't have extra hands. But take a look at this brisket. Caitlin, come around over here. People don't think that you can get this quality brisket with a Weber kettle. And we're going to prove them wrong today. There you go. Take a look around. Show it to them. Show them how juicy it is. And show them how it's just falling apart. That's what happens when you have proper technique and you can get it done. So I'm going to carve a little bit of the flat for you. It's going to look a little dry, but we can tell it's not dry. It's completely wet. And I'm messing up the bark as we go along. The reason you want to rest it is because you want all that fat at the bottom to be nice and soft and, you know, not gristly and cold. Put this back in the cooler. So we got all of our juice. Back up, Caleb. Back up. Put it back in the cooler. All right. So briskets have, you could tell where the lines are. You're gonna cut against the grain, because if you cut with the grain, you're gonna get nothing but a stringy mess. So you're gonna take a sharp knife. You're gonna want to cut. Look at that smoke ring on a Weber kettle. And people say they get a one on an offset. Yeah, you get a beautiful one on an offset. But this is a great option for anybody who wants to cook. This is on the flat, and you can give it the old test. It's breaking apart. If this is what you want, Caleb, look at me. Ready to eat. Go ahead and stop it. All right. So you have your flat, and you have your fat side, and I mean it just doesn't get any better. Look, ooh, what is that? Is that juice? It looks like juice to me. What do you think? Tastes good? All right. You could go ahead and push stop.